Okay, an exciting afternoon at the Fox for several reasons. We just met in the lobby for the first time.
Yes.
But it dawned on me this isn't actually the first time we met. I was at the video shoot for Pulmonary Archery in Toronto.
Were you really?
With my buddy George Strombolopoulos.
Okay.
So many years ago, which I think was in, like, I didn't know the place well, but it's the Keg Mansion, is that
It's
what it was
right
called?
beside the Keg Mansion.
And which one is haunted? The one you shot in or the one...
They say the one we shot in is haunted because that's why it's still not inhabited by anyone. It's still like an empty place where people just shoot music videos. And I actually, my music video for The Girl, for City and Color, there's the parts where I'm in a house playing.
Yeah.
And then at the end, there's like a bunch of people in the basement. That's the same house that
really?
Archery was shot at. Yeah. Still empty 8 years later.
That was an incredible video and came very early on in your career. But marked a few things that would become dominant in your career all the way through. And I think you've been a band that's made incredible videos. You've been a band that's been able to capture the intensity of what you do on stage, on film. And I wonder how much you've ever been involved in the actual video process along the way, or is that something you've always left to other people?
No, very much. I think we look at it like it's another important part of making music. And, you know, as you know, as much time as we put into, you know, making the artwork for our records, you know, it's kind of one more extension of that. And I don't want to take credit for everything or anything like that. I'm not saying that, because we've worked with Mark Riccardelli, who did that video, has pretty much done almost every single video of ours. Yeah. And
except for what, 3 maybe?
Except for 3 out of, I don't know, what, 14 or something like that. So. And yeah, he's like, you know, just the sixth member of the band in, like, you know,
when it comes to visual,
of things, so, you know.
Yeah, and it's good with having a guy like that too, where like we just sort of if we have like a weird idea, we give it to him, and then he writes a treatment based on the idea that we have, and like puts in all his own ideas. Right. It's kind of like, you know, working with a producer on a record, where you give them an idea and then they sort of like fire a bunch of ideas back at you, you know. So we've done a couple where we've just sort of like let the guy go. Like our last video for the Northern with Michael Maxis, who's absolutely out of his mind, as you can tell by watching that video. We sort of had this idea.
In the best way possible.
Yeah, like that's not an insult. We had what we thought was a pretty cool idea, and he sort of took the idea and just went mental with it, and it's awesome. I think it's probably the best video we've ever done. It
is, and I want to talk a little bit more about that video. When you think back and throw something out like 14 videos over your career, and you think about the fact your first music as a band came out in 2001, does it seem as though it's been that long, or does it seem as though it's all flown by and it's really just started, you know, a month or two ago for you guys as a band in your career?
You know, there's days where it definitely feels long, you know, and when you're on tour and maybe it's not going very well and you're in a weird city, there's days where it can feel like, wow, I've been doing this for too long. Right. But then there's days like last night where we played, the first show of our Billy Talent Cross Canada tour in an arena full of people, and you know, Ben and I were talking after the show about when our first Cross Canada tour together in 2002, and it was just like we were kind of like that was 7 years ago when we did that, and it doesn't feel like that, you know. So there's moments where it just like something happens and you can't believe how quickly it's gone by, you know, and then vice versa as well. So
there's a lot of bands in the world. There are very few bands that have surrounded themselves with people who output music at the level you guys output it at. Some of the greatest songwriters have always said, I just couldn't turn off the songs in my head, that I just had this constant melodies that were changing but were always happening. When you think about the music you put out outside of Alexisonfire and inside the band, whether it's Black Lungs or City and Color, any of the things you've done, how have you surrounded yourselves with musicians who constantly seem to have this need to put out more and more music?
I think we're just, everybody in our band and even I guess the people that we get to like play with us on our other things as well, we're just all music enthusiasts, you know. And we happen to grow up in a like, you know, we didn't grow up in the 60s and 70s where there was like only a few styles of music. Like we grew up in the 90s where there was so much to pick from and so much to be influenced by that you almost couldn't help being a fan of multiple genres of music, you know. So for us, like, we were able to start this band with a style of music that at the time was really interesting to us, but at the same time, we all came into the band with completely different influences, you know, like, which is sort of what helped us make our band sound like us, because we're all, you know, we're all different. We're all different people inside, you know. We didn't just all come together on the love of punk or the love of metal or something. We just sort of came together as for the love of music, you know, in general. And I guess that's kind of why we always keep putting out records of different stuff. And
Right.
And I think, yeah, that's why it sounds the way it does, because, you know, we all look at the same things very, very differently. And, you know, even if, you know, it's something that Dallas is playing, you know, the way I'm hearing it is, you know, what I want to do with it is going to be different, and vice versa. And so I think, you know, just that simply us all like having 5 different takes on something makes it sound the way it does.